with Kyle Henderson and Trey Yannity. I'm Mick Gillespie, and it really is a pleasure to have you with us for Monday Night Quarterback. Let me tell you guys something, though, before we all start talking about everything going on. We appreciate you, whether you're watching right now on our YouTube channel, the Bama Insider YouTube channel, where we've been absolutely killing it, and it's because of you guys out there that have been subscribing and have been participating in what we're doing. If you're watching right now, encourage you to hit the thumbs up, subscribe to our channel. And for those of you that are listening to our podcast, and I'm telling you, our podcasts are starting to pick up a lot of momentum. Tell your friends about it. Share on your social media, send them out, get people involved. Bama Insider, Spotify, YouTube, or wherever you get your podcasts. We appreciate having all of you with us tonight as we talk college football. It's time for Monday Night Quarterback and panel. Let's start with Alabama and LSU. Look, we have exhausted this matchup. It was a good old-fashioned behind the woodshed beating of Ed Orgeron and LSU. And I kind of feel slightly sorry for them. Obviously, Nick Saban took it easy on them in the second half. Alabama scored every possession in the first half, right? 5 touchdowns in their first 5 touches. And it was just absolute domination one way to the other, 55-17 final. And now Alabama has clinched a spot in Atlanta to take on Florida. But just kind of final thoughts on LSU, Kyle.
Yeah, what's going on, everyone? Thanks for watching. I appreciate it. Definitely hit the thumbs up, like, and subscribe. Catch our podcast. I think look at us. We're all in black for the funeral of LSU, right? I mean, that was kind of, what happened with the LSU Tigers. And we all knew that it was going to happen in some way or another. But, I mean, to come out and score 45 points at the halftime break, I think that was a big message from Nick Saban. And before the game, he said that they wanted to change the way that LSU thought. And I was like, when he said that, I tried to tweet out as many skulls and crossbones as I could because I knew what was coming for Ed Orgeron. And look, he begged for this, last year. We played the video 100 times and we're trying to get the video of him, stomping on the ground and punching his headset. So stay tuned for that. But we saw that the meltdown was coming. I mean, you look at the 2 programs, the trajectory of LSU has completely been flushed in the toilet since the 2019 season. Alabama continues to fly. What's up, JL? Appreciate you being here. And you just look at, the matchup for the Alabama, and the thing about Alabama is this. I mean, Mac Jones said it. Look, they're going into this Arkansas game, and someone asked Mac Jones, how do you guys stay, focused on Arkansas, on Florida? And he's like, look, the quest is simple. It's perfection at Alabama. This team has an opportunity to do what nobody else has done. That's go undefeated just through a SEC-only schedule and try to win the national championship. Just being undefeated, that would be quite an impressive feat, and that's what's keeping these guys motivated.
Yeah, you're right, Kyle. Trey, I try to teach you young guys about days where Alabama used to play defense. When Gene Stallings was the coach, it was a lot of defense, run the football, control the clock, and then, you might win 17-16, right? Alabama has scored 35 points in 22 straight games. So for you, who is in college right now, you're used to this high-flying offensive attack.
Yeah, I mean, this is the Alabama football I've come to get used to every single Saturday since I've been in school here, and even before that. But this team still believes in their defense a whole lot, and they've made huge strides this season. On Saturday, I think you saw a little bit of a regression in that first quarter. You saw them just come out a little bit flat, not putting a lot of pressure on the quarterback. But overall, I think this effort was, just an exclamation point on an LSU team that had it coming. We talked about it for a long time. I didn't know if I wanted this game originally just because of the injury factor. The fact that it, at the end of the day, doesn't really mean anything towards the schedule, towards playoff contentions or anything else. But, once it was here, bring it on. And Alabama did. We're going to be talking a lot about DeVonta Smith tonight. There's just no summing up the night that he had. Unbelievable. The catch was the icing on the cake for him. But, so many positives to take away from this one. And it was great to see Nick Saban back on the sideline for Alabama as well.
Yeah, Kyle mentioned this to me, off the air. We were talking a couple of days ago, and then you mentioned it again, Kyle. You don't see Nick Saban, kind of talk a lot of smack. And when he does, it's not like Ed Orgeron, who's Ed Orgeron reminds me of a high school gym teacher. I mean, like he's trying to bench press more than you, and and he's screaming and yelling. Like Nick Saban's more methodical, and even his smack talk is that way.
I think, Nick Saban, he says a lot without saying a lot, and you have to kind of play what is he saying within the semantics. I mean, he's so smart. He has such a high IQ that he says things and you're like, wait, what did that mean? So if you're able to decode what he says, he certainly drops a hammer, and sometimes it might fly over your head, but if you kind of listen and if you rewatch, I've been covering Saban long enough, and I listen to pretty much every press conference again and again just because I want to make sure it's uploaded right, that the audio is good. So I've listened to Saban tons and I love it. And I thought it was hilarious when he was talking about before the game, that before Alabama even entered Death Valley, the power went out at the hotel locker room. And he said that, so Alabama, before they go to the game, they have two church services. They have one that's Catholic and the one that's non-denominational. So right as they were getting ready to go to their church service, the lights went out at the team hotel. So they're sitting there in the dark, and there was players up there in the shower and the lights were off. And, they're just kind of sitting there. And Nick Saban's like, look, he's like, sometimes, he's like sitting down there eating lunch and he's with the lights out. And he's like, look, sometimes bad things just happen and you just kind of have to power through it. And I thought that was hilarious because he's so calm and like his demeanor is just, so mellow until game time. But no, absolutely right. When he has to, drop the hammer and says something, I mean, he definitely says a lot. And then I think the biggest flex of that game was kind of calling off the Dogs in the second half. I mean, how many points could they really have scored, honestly?
Could have gotten ugly.
I wanted them to at least get 60, but I guess there comes a point too where you got to remember that Nick Saban is a coaching legend at LSU, just like he is Alabama.
Yeah.
And he's the one that put this Frankenstein and Baton Rouge together for the first time. I mean, like they had won these championships like a long time ago, and then he shows up. And they start, just pummeling people. And eventually in 03, they won. And then he left a program that would win again in 2007 with a lot of his seniors. And look, then they won again, So he's the guy that started this. I don't think he appreciated all the things that were said and the way that LSU acted last year. But there also is this side of him that wouldn't fit in at Cobra Kai. He does show mercy. They showed mercy. I thought they could have beat those guys easily by 60, easily. And I really felt like he dialed it back. Trey, what did you think?
Yeah, I mean, this one really could have gotten out of hand. 45 points and a half. And you have two players in the first half with 3 touchdowns apiece. It really could have gotten bad, I think, in this one. But you got to take in consideration everything that this game meant. Being played in December, you got to look out for players. And, they really didn't take out too many starters all around the field until really late in that game, really until midway and through the fourth quarter. So, I think there were some things Alabama even could have done on the field outside of, coaching mentality, aggressiveness, that they could have made a few more plays that even could have made this one look a whole lot worse. And, maybe they punch it in right there at the goal line and, maybe the fumble gets taken back. LSU teammate doesn't come over and save his teammate's day there at the goal line. So this one could have looked a lot different for a lot of reasons. But at the end of the day, I think that people understand that Alabama LSU is a rivalry game, and 55-17 looks really ugly in itself. And I think that was enough for Nick Saban and this team.
Well, Alabama wins the football game 55-17. You mentioned it. They're 9-0 now and off to play Arkansas. We'll talk a little bit about that later on. But let me talk about a couple other games in the SEC that have an impact on Alabama and, possibly the college football playoff. One game that used to be the premier SEC East game every year was Florida against Tennessee. Florida's had some down years. I'd like to say that they're back. I mean, I feel like that with Dan Mullen. They're 8-1 now. Tennessee, when Philip Fulmer was the head coach, a formidable opponent. And, they kind of fired him and then put themselves in this predicament. They've had a parade of coaches started by Lane Kiffin, who left them high and dry after one season. They had Derek Dooley, who was no good. Butch Jones, who's on Alabama's coaching staff. He didn't get the job done, a little bit better. And now Jeremy Pruitt, another guy on Alabama's, former Alabama player and coach. And now he's the head coach, and he's under a lot of pressure after a 31-19 loss to Florida. Look, give Tennessee some credit. They fought to the end, but Kyle Trask, and we're going to get into this later on as well, not right now though, threw for 433 yards and 4 touchdowns in the game. But just talking about the game and not Kyle Trask, I'm going to start with Tennessee. Jeremy Pruitt's in some big-time trouble. I don't know that they have the money to buy him out. Someone called in on the Vol Call show last week and said, when are you going to admit that you can't coach ball and go back to Alabama? I mean, think about that. Like that's slipping through, and Pruitt handled it well. And I'm sure that the administration at Tennessee is not very happy that a call like that got through, but they are frustrated right now, Kyle, in Knoxville.
Yeah, I mean, I think when you look at kind of the SEC overall, and you see a lot of Saban's disciples, kind of running the show at, a lot of these programs, I mean, the bar is set so high from Nick Saban. So you have this program from the SEC West that is doing things that no other program in college football can even emulate. And then you try to kind of siphon that off by hiring these coaches. It takes a long time to build a program. Can Jeremy Pruitt coach football? Yeah, he can coach, but at what degree? At what level? How good is he really going to be? How far is he going to take the Tennessee Volunteers? And how long is it going to take him? Look, in today's world of college football, you get 2, maybe 3 years. You're still dealing with, some leftover recruits from the last regime. So it takes a while to build up a program. It takes a while to build an organization. I don't know if Jeremy Pruitt can do it. I have no idea. But what he's doing right now, it doesn't speak to the level of the SEC, right? You want production at a very high level. This is the SEC. There's a slim margin for error, and you always look to Alabama. What is your rival doing? How do they keep doing this? How do they keep getting these guys? You have the budget. You can get coaches, but right now 2-6 overall on a 6-game skid. It's not good in Knoxville. So what direction do they go? I have no idea. I definitely don't think that they're going to fire him right now. So you're probably going to see more Jeremy Pruitt for the 2021 season.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, in 4 years, he just got a contract extension. He had some momentum, and now all of a sudden that momentum's gone. And they had like an 8-game winning streak at one point, and the longest active winning streak in the country. And then, it's been all downhill for them this year. And honestly, I mean, I kind of pull for Jeremy Pruitt. I mean, he's an Alabama guy. I know it's an arch rival, but man, I mean, to see Tennessee this bad, this far down the ladder really is amazing. Trey Yannity, I mean, you're a guy who keeps up with this. How about Florida and what they've been able to do? And, kind of on the other end of things, Florida had some down years, but and with another Alabama assistant coach at the helm, right? Jim McElwain. And now all of a sudden with Dan Mullen, they've got new uniforms. I don't even recognize them. They're wearing blue helmets instead of orange. Every time I turn around, they've got an inverted helmet, but I do like that blue matte finish. And Kyle Trask, I mean, this is a team now that just continues to pick up wins.
Yeah, you talk about these uniforms first and foremost. They have a sweet arsenal now. They got these blue helmets. They rock the charcoal sometimes. They got the all orange. This is a good looking team and a good playing football team right now. You said it. It's Dan Mullen. I think that's what it comes down to. He's gotten in there and immediately made an impact. I think you look at Tennessee, this is a reason to get frustrated. A team that's in your division that, you recruit with comparably a little bit easier in Florida. But, at the same time, you're a brand name. And, to see Florida have the success, I really think frustrates them more than anything else. But, at the end of the day, it comes down to Dan Mullen and putting trust in his players. Last year, he had to decide between Felipe Franks and Kyle Trask. He kind of lucked out. Felipe Franks went out. Trask came in, and, it's worked out pretty well for them. The only thing about this Florida team I worry about, obviously some glaring holes on defense. Their defense is, less than mediocre. In the run game, too. They have so many tools on offense. They can kill you with Kyle Pitts, obviously, a stacked receiving core and Tony and Copeland, some of these other guys. And Kyle Trask has looked unbelievable as well. So they can beat you on offense, but that run game, they got to figure something out there because it's been one-dimensional, and their defense has been pretty mediocre as well.
And we're going to talk about the Heisman race later on, but let's move over to another game that took place in the SEC. I don't know if you've ever heard of this team before, Trey, but they're called the Auburn Tigers. They were beaten, and they also play in the state of Alabama, but they dropped to 5-4 with a loss to Texas A&M, 31-20. And I mean, right before this show started, it was announced that the Ole Miss Texas A&M game was canceled. Kyle, was it canceled or postponed? There's COVID issues at Ole Miss.
Yeah, so it looks like there's going to be, issues, and I don't know if you're going to be able to cancel that game. I don't know what you're going to be able to do because with Texas A&M and Ole Miss now being postponed, Texas A&M already has a game on the 19th. Ole Miss already has a game on the 19th. So I guess you just look at that game that they're not going to play the game, right? I mean, you're getting to this point in the season where, you only have so many weeks to postpone these games. They're definitely not playing, for Christmas or anything like that. That wouldn't be a present for anybody. So I think that you kind of just you get past that game, and it is what it is. But Texas A&M, they have an opportunity to finish out their at least a regular season with just one loss. So you look to their next game against an opponent. We were just talking about Tennessee, where I think they're probably going to be, I don't know, a 12.5, 14-point favorite, and that would be a solid year for Jimbo Fisher. But when you kind of look at this Texas A&M team, how good are they really? We've talked about that several times because when they came to Bryant-Denny Stadium, we all watched that game. I don't know, wasn't really impressed. So when we see them even mentioned in the playoff rankings, which we'll talk about tomorrow night, I'm not really buying it. I'm not really buying that this is the next best team. Who is the next best team? I don't know. I think there's a big drop off between 1 and 4, to be honest. Texas A&M having a good season, but not a top 4 by any stretch of the means.
Right. And what I'm reading right now is that the game is postponed. It's postponed, which is different than being canceled. Not to say that it won't be canceled, but right now the term postponed means that they're going to try to figure out a time to play it again. If they say canceled, then no football game at all. But Trey, Auburn with another loss. Alabama trounced them in the annual Iron Bowl, and here they are losing again. I wonder how close Gus Malzahn is to falling into the same trap that Jeremy Pruitt's in, and that's where people want to get him out of town.
Yeah, Gus Malzahn's a tough one, though. You look at that buyout, and, South Carolina had a similar situation, but, Muschamp's buyout looked like pennies comparatively. And with Auburn, too, they've shown signs. You see Bo Nix with a 50-yard run to score a touchdown on Saturday. I guess he only had to go 20, but he ended up making a crazy play. They have upsides, but this team, is just struggling to figure it out. There's no consistency on defense. On offense as well. And, if you look at that game, it kind of makes you feel a lot better as an Alabama fan. There's not much that can make you feel better at this point. Your team's undefeated and far and away the best team in the country. But you look at that game and you say, wow, Texas A&M is number 5 in the country. And we just beat that Auburn team, 43-14. And they only beat that team by 8 points. Now to come back and win that game in the fourth quarter. So, I just think this game gives you more confidence as an Alabama fan. Good to see your arch rival lose again there, on their last home game. So an interesting one, though. You bring up Gus Malzahn, because I just don't know what you do with that situation. What do you think, Kyle? Do you buy him out? What direction do you go in?
It's confusing. I mean, we just talked to our good buddy Jay Tate from Auburn Sports just recently before the Iron Bowl. And, it's like Auburn will win these games that they're not supposed to and then, lose to teams that they should beat. So every single year we continue to see this. The buyout is large. I know people want a different coach and, Auburn, and who knows if it's going to happen. I mean, for the past 3 seasons, I've kind of been waiting for Malzahn to, somehow get fired, but he keeps on coaching. So I'm kind of past it. I mean, if they're going to make a move, they're going to make a move. Jay Tate from Auburn Sports said there's some big money people in the area that want him gone. The buyout's large, so I guess we'll just have to see what happens. But for now, Malzahn's still the head man, which I think might be maybe it's a positive, maybe it's a negative for Alabama because he's kind of been the kryptonite to Nick Saban. If any coach people don't like him, he loses games, but I mean he's beat Nick Saban more than a few times.
Yeah, I feel like they put a lot of emphasis on that game, and it's paid off for him because they always seem to come back with what Jay Tate described as a turd, and he lays a turd I thought that was a good term for losing to South Carolina this year. I'm not going to fault them for losing to number 1 Alabama, number 5 Texas A&M. I thought they played Texas A&M fairly well. But who are you going to hire to replace him? And if we talked about Tennessee, a couple minutes ago, they fired Philip Fulmer a long time ago. They didn't have a replacement. Alabama fired Gene Stallings. They didn't have a replacement. You're going back a ways. And those programs were set back years and years and years. And Tennessee still hasn't recovered. It's not that you fire your head coach or not, but you have to have the right guy in place to take over the program. But I'm sure for Gus Malzahn, that seat's pretty hot down there after losing to Texas A&M, and just kind of the way things went against Alabama. Now, talking about Texas A&M, they're 5th. There's people that want to keep them out of the college football playoff. I'm kind of one of the people that's saying, hey, look, if they went 9-1. I feel like you could make a very good case that they belong in more than Ohio State, who's only played a handful of games. But I also feel like losing out on this game against Ole Miss, even though it's a game that they should win, I think it hurts a little bit if they're unable to play the full slate of games. And I was telling Kyle before we went on the air, I would love to see Texas A&M and Cincinnati play on Saturday. Be like a de facto playoff right there. And it kind of goes back to seeing BYU travel across the country, guys, and take on Coastal Carolina.
Yeah, we watched that game, Trey and I. Before the Alabama LSU game. I thought it was great. And credit to BYU and Coastal Carolina for setting that up on short notice. Nobody wants to play an option team, number one, and nobody wants to play an option team on short notice. It's just impossible to prepare for that. We saw Alabama even have trouble with get that graphic for you guys. With the Citadel a couple years ago. The Citadel was able to kind of run right down and put some points on the board against Alabama. So credit to BYU. I was glad to see BYU lose, to be honest. I was pulling for Coastal Carolina because there had been some talk about BYU wanting to play in the upper echelon, and I don't know, against, the top tier teams. Look, they're having a great season. I get it. I love what you're saying, Mick. For, Texas A&M to go out there and play Cincinnati, these are kind of like, we're setting up these playoff games. I think it's great. Like, if you want to play, Texas A&M would be like, hey, come play, come down to College Station, come down to Kyle Fields, and let's set this matchup up. And I think that would be great if they were able to do that. Will it happen? Probably not. But I would love to see Cincinnati and Texas A&M. And I think, just because I was just talking about Texas A&M, I think that's a game that Texas A&M does beat Cincinnati. But we'll see.
Yeah, it'd be nice though how cool was it that Coastal had Liberty, have to back out because of COVID, and yet they still managed, Trey, to find a good opponent, and it turned out to be one of the best games to watch on Saturday, unlike Alabama absolutely embarrassing LSU and Ed Orgeron.
Yeah, this is awesome. I love seeing these kinds of matchups because these two schools never would have played. And it's crazy to think that Coastal just 3 seasons ago was an FCS school. They weren't even thinking about playing games at this level as a ranked team in primetime on ESPN, whatever else. And they've come such a long way. You hope to see more games like this in the future later on in the season. We see a lot of great non-conference matchups early on. And, we see some pretty lazy ones later in the year. We need to see this kind of stuff towards the end of the season, and this is the year to do it. I thought for a second they might say, let's just try an 18 playoff because it's 2020 and COVID and everything else. They didn't do that. I think this is kind of the makeup for that a little bit. And when you talk, bigger games, Texas A&M, Cincinnati, it really does set up as a college football playoff quarterfinal. The thing, about Texas A&M still in that game, I think they have to play it or play Ole Miss or play somebody because, like you mentioned, if they don't play all 10 games, I don't think you can let them in. I think when you try to make a case for the playoff, it starts with this statement, we deserve to be in the playoff. But for Alabama this year, there's but nothing. For Texas A&M, it's we deserve to be in the playoff this year, but we lost to Alabama. If that's the only but, I think they're probably in. If it's we lost to Alabama, or we should make college football playoff, but we lost to Alabama and we didn't play all 10 games, I don't think you can keep them in. So if it's Cincinnati, let it be. And that would truly be a great college football playoff quarterfinal.
It was 22-17, by the way. And BYU got the ball to the 2-yard line and was tackled. The receiver was tackled to end the game. I thought that it was just so entertaining. But, I agree with you, Trey. I feel like for some reason, everyone wants to give Ohio State this benefit of the doubt stuff. And I don't blame them. But I blame their conference for not playing those games and for, kind of canceling and then uncanceling and then, kind of backing themselves into a corner where if something like what happened tonight, where Ole Miss had to back out of the game, you still have a little bit of leeway if you're the SEC. Not much, but, I thought Greg Sankey, and I'll stand by this, I think Greg Sankey's done a great job for the SEC. They were smart by waiting that extra month to get things figured out, playing the only conference schedule, having the bye weeks in there, and then rescheduling the games and doing all this. Like Alabama's on the verge of playing all 10 games this year. But for Texas A&M guys to jump over Ohio State. And look, Ohio State is laden with talent. I mean, they got what is it, 7 5-stars that start for them. I mean, they're stacked. But at the same time, they haven't played the games. And wasn't it, you gotta play the game, right? I mean, isn't that what the whole thing's about? I mean, you can't put a team in that's played half a schedule, like 5 games, 6 games, but that's what's going to happen. And I see the, Justin Fields is a great quarterback, but you know what? If I'm Texas A&M, the way I can put pressure on this with Notre Dame and Clemson set to play and Alabama and Florida set to play is just to keep getting these games in. And I feel like even though I see the percentages, sometimes don't have them as a high probability, I have them as a high probability because I just think something's going to happen as long as they get those games in and win to put them in the playoff.
Yeah, I think this year you have to kind of just take a step back and say, we know Ohio State is one of the best 4 teams this year. I don't think there's anybody around the country that could genuinely tell you that they believe Ohio State isn't one of the 4 best teams in the country on paper. But have they done enough to make the college football playoff? That's what it comes down to. I don't know if the committee's going to sit there and say, look, it's 2020. COVID is messed up a whole lot of things, and football is just the tail end of that. This team was really good. They probably deserve it. Or if they're going to sit there and say, you know what, we're going to treat it like a regular year. They didn't play enough games. These other schools did. They proved themselves. Ohio State, you don't make it. I can't make up my mind on what's going to happen. But I think I'm with you, Mick. They're just going to find a way to let Ohio State in just because of Justin Fields, how that game sells, and how good they are on paper.
I think you're right, Trey. I mean, you kind of look at what the Big Ten is doing right now, and they are actually rewriting the rules or thinking about it at least, which means they're going to do it to make sure that Ohio State is eligible to play in their Big Ten championship game, which I think is absolutely ludicrous. Look, I've said this before on the show. It was the Big Ten's fault for waiting, for canceling and kind of opting out and then jumping back in. They should have taken the same stance. And Greg Sankey, if he's done anything great, it was the fact that to push back the season, not to postpone it. These guys are going to play in the springtime, and now they're panicking because they're seeing that Ohio State, because of COVID, may not be eligible for the Big Ten championship game. And in fact, I mean, looking at their schedule, Michigan's not going to be eligible to play them. So it's going to be very interesting to track to see what happens. I think if they should go by the rules that were set, you can't start playing Monopoly and then start selling, Boardwalk for, $1,200 or whatever. I mean, you got to stick with the original rules that you played. And in this particular case, too bad, so sad. And, you kind of move on to next year. So we're going to see what happens. Ohio State, are they a good team? Yeah, they're a good team. Someone in the comment box is saying, kind of point to the Indiana game, 42-35. Look, we don't have enough sample size to see how good these guys are. Justin Fields has been throwing a ton of interceptions. We didn't get to see them against Maryland, just too small of a sample size. So, we'll see you next time. Quality quarterback. And that's it for you guys.
Yeah. I mean, and like going into this week's game, the win percentage of Ohio State's opponents was like 391, and they played a terrible Michigan State team. So Texas A&M, they're the teams that they play. They beat Auburn. The winning percentage of the teams that they've beaten is close to 500. Both of their strength of schedules aren't great. Texas A&M 36, Ohio State 39 going into this week's game. But and wins over teams with records of better than 500. Alabama has 4, Ohio State has 1, Texas A&M has 2, right? So you beat one team with a winning record, and it is Indiana. But what about all the other games? I'm guessing Ohio State would have won those football games. I'm not arguing with that. And I also think that Ohio State could very well belong there. But what I'm saying is that they have not played the schedule that Texas A&M has because they just haven't played that many games. And I blame their conference. I blame the conference and the presidents and the politics that were involved in this when they decided they were going to cancel and then now, kind of come back in. I'm glad that the Big Ten's playing, but the Big Ten's also having a horrible year. Penn State is garbage. I mean, they are the worst. They're an embarrassment to the uniform. Can you imagine if Alabama rolled out with a 1-5 record or whatever they're doing right now? Awful. Michigan, they're paying top dollar for a coach that is not getting it done. They're no good. Michigan State's no good. If Indiana and Northwestern are the two teams that are going to be the best wins on your schedule, that's not a good schedule. Period. Look, I think Indiana's a decent team. And I also think Ohio State's a decent team, but they're not going to have a better win than going into Auburn and beating Auburn. I know there's a lot of people on the message board that hate Auburn, but you know what? That's a tough place to go in and win. And that's a really quality win to me against the Auburn Tigers on the road for Texas A&M. But, Michigan's bad. That hurts your schedule strength. Michigan State's bad. That hurts you. The fact that Indiana's good and the Indiana really is a good football team. But that's the only one that you've beat. And then, Northwestern, who you would match up with, Wisconsin's not even that good this year. They're mediocre. So we'll see what happens. But I just feel like Texas A&M needs to get that push. And guys, I'm not sold on Notre Dame and losing to Clemson getting in. I just feel like, look, you beat Clemson without Trevor Lawrence. You're going to have to beat them again for me to get into the college football playoff. I'll oversee some of these other teams like Texas A&M.
Yeah, Notre Dame's a hard one too there because that's a team that's really well-rounded. You have a great defense, and this offense has come along a good ways. You could even say since they beat Clemson, their receiving core has gotten a lot better. But I'm kind of with you there, Mick. Do we let them in if they lose to Clemson? That was their one big-time win that really proved it. If they lose that game the second time around, does all that go out the window? I don't know. It was a Trevor Lawrence-less Clemson team, and Clemson was missing a lot of guys on defense, but they really did, they really did come out that night and get a big win. So that might be enough to keep them in. At the end of the day, I think the committee, I'm not saying, this is what's going to happen, but I think the committee would prefer for Alabama to win and Notre Dame to win, keep things simple and easy. Then you don't have that controversy with Ohio State. Then, you kind of have to let them in. And then I think the real controversy comes down to Texas A&M or Cincinnati, or, even one of these Pac-12 schools. Do you guys think that they have even, a shot in the dark, a prayer for this thing, like a Southern Cal or a Colorado? They still got 2 undefeateds out there.
No, I think that, kind of the
word, no.
Yeah, I don't, because you go back to sample size, you go back to the fact that these guys push their season back. You just don't have enough of sample size. Poor Colorado is not even going to be eligible. Like the Pac-12 is like, no, Colorado, you're ineligible to play because they want USC in, right?
Yeah, exactly.
It's all about it's all about the TV rep. So the poor Buffs, they scheduled even San Diego State. They got an extra W. Now they're being told that they can't qualify. So that's the Pac-12. I figured things would go that way, but kind of looking at Notre Dame, I just don't think they're going to beat Clemson. I've said this 100 times. I don't think that's going to happen. I know Notre Dame fans feel that this is the best team that they've had in a long time, and really it is, right? The season that they've had is good, but they straight up, like you said, they beat Clemson without Trevor Lawrence. That doesn't really do much for me. And they'll have another opportunity to prove all of us wrong. And look, if they beat Clemson again with Trevor Lawrence, and all credit to them, they can land up with that number 2 seed and go out to Pasadena, or I feel it's going to be Glendale, Arizona. I just don't think the Rose Bowl is going to be played out there. So we'll just have to wait and see what happens with Notre Dame.
Yeah. Well, I will say this, Notre Dame has a chance to beat Clemson twice, and I like their uniforms and their fight song a lot.
Helmets are amazing.
I know. I mean, just look at that look right there. Love it.
Yeah, fight
it's
song is
clean.
great. I mean, Rudy, everybody loves the movie Rudy, right?
Yep.
I think there's a lot of the 5'10" guys out there that love to be able to make a sack, in the last seconds. And we've all put on, if you grew up Catholic, then you definitely liked Notre Dame growing up or whatever.
Me?
I mean, but it comes down to, if they can beat Clemson. I mean, straight up, and
Right.
they have an opportunity.
Yeah, Catholic Irish kid they always talk about the luck of the Irish, and my grandparents were like, Irish luck's terrible, just to let you know that, anyone that tries to throw that clover at you and make you think that it's great luck, they have no idea what they're talking about. But I like Notre Dame, like the uniform and the tradition. It'd be a fun matchup. I was on the sideline when they matched up last time, but it was all Alabama. This Notre Dame team might be for real. We're going to find out. They're off. Clemson's off. They finished their schedule. They got their 10 games in. The ACC kind of set them up to get that extra week off, and that's a big battle. All right, guys, the other big battle, as we talk to you on a Monday night. This is Monday Night Quarterback, and I want everyone that is watching right now on our YouTube channel to do Trey a favor. He's a college student at Alabama. Give him a thumbs up. Just go over there and give Trey a thumbs up. The school's out, and he's still hanging out with us. So just remember that. That's young Trey Yannity. He's going to be a superstar in this business today. Thumbs up for Trey. Subscribe to our channel as well on YouTube. And for those of you that are listening to our podcast, we appreciate you guys. And you're right. Here we go. We're going to talk about what DeVonta Smith has done. And you start to compare him, Kyle, and eventually we're going to get into a Heisman conversation. But I said it on this show 2 weeks ago that after watching him against Auburn, that maybe we should be, instead of talking about Mac Jones for the Heisman, maybe we should be thinking about DeVonta Smith, because, Mac throws him the ball and he just eludes everyone. He catches everything. He high pointed that ball in the game against LSU. That capped off a game where he nearly had 300 yards and 3 touchdowns. This guy is next level. And you put him up against Amari Cooper, Coop, who plays for the Cowboys now, Julio Jones, those guys really thought of as the best receivers that Alabama's ever had. And in Smitty, right there with them, not quite there yet, but we got more games to go, right? And then Desmond Howard. I mean, we think about Desmond Howard. He's a regular on the ESPN Game Day show, really good player. He doesn't even really, look at all the touchdowns in 92, not quite the yards, but very interesting comparison, Kyle.
Yeah, you look at the stats right here. These are amazing seasons for all these guys, right? We all know Desmond Howard with the pose, and it was fun playing NCAA football and kind of trying to emulate Desmond Howard. We all did it on the PlayStation, of course. Amari Cooper in 2014. I didn't realize that he caught 124 receptions, and actually he was the last receiver that was nominated for the Heisman Trophy Award. Since 2014, he had 16 touchdowns. But you look at DeVonta Smith. These numbers are ridiculous. 80 receptions, 1,300 yards, 16 touchdowns already. So, Alabama's certainly going to play Arkansas, Florida, a playoff game, probably national championship game, right? So that's 4 more games.
Let's hope.
Go ahead, Mick.
No, I just said let's hope. You said national championship game.
Oh yeah, well I'm being optimistic on this. Overall, career-wise, right? 198 receptions, 3,400 yards, and 38 touchdowns. Now, we all got a taste of the greatness when he was a freshman, when he caught the game winner, right? We talked about that. I was on the sidelines. Everybody was watching that game. People were crying. People were running on the field. And that was just a taste of what's to come. And check this out. When he caught for 231 yards against LSU and had that ridiculous catch that everybody's talking about, after the game, Smitty, I think I have that clip right real quick that I can even play for you guys. This is let's see if I can find it real quick. But DeVonta Smith basically was like, no, he's like, I did okay. I did all right. I feel like I might even left some stuff, out on the field. And here it is. DeVonta Smith talking about his performance. I'm not going to be able to play it. So anyways, I mean, just the overall season, is my point, is great. And if he continues to have the season that he's having, I mean, I really would hope that he's up at the Heisman Trophy table. But if he's not, I mean, the guy is doing something that, has never been done before. And I love it.
Yeah. I mean, he said, look, I know you were going to play that clip. He's like, I'm not here to win Heisman trophies. I'm here to win national championships.
Yeah,
I mean, it's hard to find guys like this, Trey.
Oh, yeah, no doubt. This is DeVonta Smith. I mean, textbook, just humble kid that is so athletic, so talented, knows exactly, where he needs to be at all times. And, it's going to pay dividends at the next level in the NFL for him. I think a Heisman Trophy would be fair. It would be so deserving for this kid because he really had a Heisman season, but it's just so hard as a receiver. And I think, it's maybe even use it as a testament to how great Mac's been, even more so to, how great Mac has been for delivering some of these deep balls to him and setting him up so much throughout the season. But, if this award was a little bit more well-rounded, if this award really considered the best player in college football every year, I think DeVonta Smith would be the front runner because, look at what he's doing and look at some of the catches he's made too. I've never seen Mac Jones jump up on one foot and reach back, pull one down. No, but yeah, this has been incredible. And you love to see him say stuff like that too, just because how committed this program is. They continue to give you reminders of just the culture and how focused they are on winning a national title. It's been 2 seasons since they've done so. That is the only thing this team is worried about. It might be rat poison, to talk about a national title already, this, that, whatever, but they're headed there. They're determined. And, I think it easily could be number 18.
I hope you're right. I mean, I was looking at my national championship game tickets from years past today in a cigar box and thinking about just different trips and, how amazing some of these teams have been. Hey, we appreciate all of you guys for joining us. This is Monday Night Quarterback. You're watching on the Bama Insider YouTube channel. And if you are, thumbs up, subscribe. We love super chats as well. We appreciate all of you guys for being here and hanging out with us tonight. Also, for those that are listening to the Bama Insider podcast channel and you got Monday Night Quarterback, we appreciate you, Apple, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts. There's a new Max and Mick podcast that dropped yesterday. We'll have this show on there. We'll have Kyle and Bone on there tomorrow. Kyle and I tomorrow will be starting off our 6 o'clock lineup with a look at the college football playoff rankings. And then we'll have Kyle and Bone talking about recruiting, things heating up. National Signing Day, the early period coming very, very fast in a couple of weeks. All right, guys, he's Kyle Henderson. He's Trey Yannity. I'm Mick Gillespie. Let's take a look, our final segment here, the Heisman race. And we talked about DeVonta Smith, Kyle. He's in the race now. I think with Trevor Lawrence not having another game to play, right, because of the fact that the ACC canceled it. He missed 2 with COVID, and then the cancellations. He doesn't have the body of work, although he's probably the best player in the draft. He's going to be the number 1 pick. And then DeVonta, after just absolutely scorching the Tigers, has put himself in this conversation. So you got 2 Bama guys in there and Kyle Trask.
Yeah, I mean, Mac Jones now the odds-on favorite to win the Heisman Trophy. And, there's still a lot of games to be played, or at least a few. And it's December 7th, as you know. You also have Kyle Trask, who's number 2. And then you have, actually before DeVonta, not in this graphic, you have Trevor Lawrence and Justin Fields. But DeVonta is certainly making ground. So if you want to add him as kind of the 4th, 5th guy, I mean, and the kind of the trajectory of it, if you're a betting man, I mean, maybe you kind of take that. But I mean, the season that Mac Jones is having has been phenomenal. You kind of look at the comparison between him and Kyle Trask there in your screen, and what he's been able to do has been really incredible overall. I mean, I think with Alabama's offense, the thing is they've been so balanced as opposed to Florida, where I think they're very one-dimensional. So you're going to see certainly more production in overall yards and touchdowns from Kyle Trask. But I mean, look, we've talked about it before. Mac Jones, DeVonta Smith, Najee Harris, each of those guys could be considered for any major award in college football. So the Heisman Trophy race, and they asked Mac Jones about it today. You ever been to New York? And he said no. And he was dismissive of the Heisman talk. Look, this is the guy that is laser focused, and he sidestepped the rat poison, as I knew he would. Here's Mac Jones sidestepping the rat poison earlier today.
How much would it mean to you to have DeVonta Smith also named a Heisman finalist?
Yeah, that's kind of just a hypothetical question. I mean, we're not really focused on that right now, so that's a whiles away. And I think if we just keep winning games and everyone's playing at a really high level right now, if we just continue to do that, then the awards will come. But at the end of the day, I mean, us at Alabama, we're just trying to win games, and the other stuff just takes care of itself.
President. How about that?
I mean, it's like Nick Saban programs all these guys, Trey.
No kidding. I mean, just so well spoken, and that's the brand. That's what this is all about. Two guys, DeVonta Smith and Mac Jones, that are both equally deserving. Both have had incredible seasons, Heisman worthy seasons. But the thing I love and hate about this award, it's 870 human beings, so we have no idea what can happen. There's no computer involved. I think if it came down to the numbers, with the human aspect, the eye test, you got to give it to Mac Jones. But Kyle Trask, that touchdown number, the 38 TDs, is the only thing that makes me a little bit skeptical. I think Mac's had a better season. He's been better in the big game. Obviously, he hasn't lost a game this season. Could just come down to that head-to-head matchup. We've talked about it a lot.
Mm-hmm.
Who wins the SEC title? That could be your Heisman Trophy right there. But like I said, guys, it's 870 media members. Go tweet. Go put facts out there. Convince these people. They might not listen to your opinion, but there's a chance. Put it out there and, tell people why Mac Jones deserves the Heisman. Because at the end of the day, 27 touchdowns, 71%. His QBR has been, in the 90s all season long. There's no reason he doesn't deserve to win this trophy, come later December.
Be great to see him become the first Alabama quarterback to win a Heisman and the third overall, but we'll see. Florida's had a legacy of quarterbacks win the Heisman. Steve Spurrier and Tim Tebow amongst them, and Kyle Trask obviously with LSU this week, and then Alabama. The Crimson Tide play Arkansas and then the Gators, and it could come down to the Florida defense versus the Alabama defense just to mess the other guy up more than anything else. So got a couple of weeks to talk about that, but two winnable games going into the final week for both of these teams setting up the SEC championship game in Atlanta. All right, guys, let's talk about what we got going on this week and wrap it up. Kyle, I know you always have a flurry of activity going on.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. I mean, now is a great time to go to BamaInsider.com and to get caught up on every single thing from, the game matchup with Arkansas. Here's a look at the front page on BamaInsider.com right now. Tons of stuff going on at Bama Insider. Tony Tsoukalis, our team writer, just dropped this great observation piece, and you can go check that out right now at BamaInsider.com. The free promo code is still Roll Tide, and that'll get you free 30 days of the website. Ed Orgeron, people aren't retweeting this, but trust me, people are watching this. People definitely want to still see Ed Orgeron, so go over and check out Ed Orgeron or what Nick Saban said today before this Arkansas matchup. We also got Sam Pitten's press conference, and then we also got player grades, which is behind the premium paywall, and then we'll also be breaking down the game tomorrow in GIF format, kind of slowing things down, things you might not have seen from the Alabama and LSU game. So tons of stuff going on. We got a special kind of video breakdown coming up on Bryce Young. I know a lot of people have been talking about Bryce Young, and I know Mick fielded some calls last night about Bryce Young, and Nick Saban spoke about Bryce Young. So kind of want to break it down overall and kind of just go through the numbers. So plenty of stuff going on at BamaInsider.com as we enter the Arkansas week.
All right. How about you, Trey?
Yeah, I mean, guys, go check this stuff out. Like Kyle's saying, it's a little evil, but sometimes the best thing is to go watch, your rival's head coach after a tough loss like that on Saturday. Go check that stuff out. It's going to be a fun week. I'm going home to see the family for a little bit, get some time off. It's dead week, so we got the final studies going on, trying to get this degree. We're finishing it out here on the semester, and then we got Friday night. We got our tailgate show coming up on Friday, game on Saturday. It's going to be a great weekend. I'm excited for it. What do you got, Mick? You going to do some more beachside runs?
Yeah, well, you know what? I try to do those every day, but work-wise, tomorrow 6:00. It'll be Kyle and I right back here on the Bama Insider channel, whether you're talking about YouTube or the podcast, will be available after we go off the air. And we'll be live when the college football playoff ranking comes out, expecting Alabama to be number 1, and then, who's number 2 and 3 and 4, just kind of setting up the playoff scenarios as we move towards that SEC championship showdown. And then Kyle will come on after, as I mentioned before, with Andrew Bone and talk recruiting. But don't forget that Thursday night I got a show. Come hang out. Love talking with Andrew Bone. I got the NFL show with JP Shadrick of the Jaguars. We talk about Alabama players in the NFL. You guys are looking for a vacation. You want to get away. Friday night, it's the Floor Bama. That's right. We'll be on the under the tent, the inside stage from 6 to 8. Kyle and I will be doing that show from Perdido Key, Orange Beach. I'll be there. Christmas time's coming. I got some New Life art calendars from Daniel A. Moore, the 2021 calendar. Everybody's ready to turn the page on those. But I've got swag from Screwball, peanut butter whiskey, Yingling stuff. I got a bunch of stuff to give away and hang out with you guys as well. That'll be on Friday night. And then Saturday, you can listen to the game if you live Birmingham and Tuscaloosa on Jocks 2 Radio. The show comes on from 9 to 11 on Jocks 2, and that gets you right there to kickoff. So we got a lot of stuff going on, guys. It's been fun to talk with you guys tonight.
Yeah, I mean, it always is. I mean, Monday Night Quarterback is certainly a good time to kind of come and recap the week that was and start to preview the week that is. And Alabama, has to be laser focused going into this Arkansas game. Saw that they're a 31-point favorite, more rat poison. There's so much rat poison for this team, but, these guys are going to sidestep it, come out. And, I'm just really glad that the game is at 11 a.m. so we can kind of take care of that and kind of have some normalcy on a Saturday night and enjoy some time. I'm even thinking about a date night during the football season with my watch out now.
Could be the first real night out since that Friendsgiving party that you threw. Trey and I were invited to it. But hey, look, had a lot of fun tonight. For Trey Yanity and Kyle Henderson, I'm Mick Gillespie. Subscribe to our channel, Bama Insider on YouTube. We love you guys. We appreciate you, whether you're Alabama fans or you're Arkansas fans or you're Florida fans. If you love college football, you're going to want to be here to hang out with us. Like, subscribe, and we'll talk to you guys again tomorrow.